Shannon Speed Series GT Festival. This is round one. The First Focus Radical Cup Australia, race number one for the weekend of 25-minute race. A rolling start, so the clock is already ticking. We are ready to go. Chris starts with you. Peter Paddon on the front row. Alongside him is Cooper Cutts, who has the pole position. Antonio Studi is back in the studio as well, ready for this call. Ready for our first bit of racing action at Phillip Island. 2025, the Shannon Speed Series. We are racing in anger on the inside from pole position. Cooper Cutts, keep an eye on him in the white and the purple. Peter Paddon is the defending champion alongside. We could be too wide. We are into the first turn. What a great start. Everyone is away clean, but not for long. We've got a spill at turn number one there. And Radicals all over the course. There's gravel coming onto the circuit. That was wild. It looked clean getting into turn one. But with a field of this size, 18 of our First Focus Radicals into turn one. We have lost 3 of our cars to the back. That is the 68, so that is Terry Knowles' third. He was in the championship last year, one of our key contenders who's been caught up in some argy-bargy. We'll have a look at that in a moment, but defending champion Peter Paddon spotted the gap, has made a great start over Cooper Cutts.
Yeah, that's going to be a drama for Paddon and Cutts there to manage. As they return to turn two there, they gravel and another little spin. That's Kenny there down on that. He's got it going. So we've still got all 18 cars, which is good. We're a little spread out now. So there's a bit of work to do for some of the boys out there.
Now that's a wild start. We're racing in all its glory at Phillip Island. This circuit, we love turn one for that exact reason. The way it sweeps across to the right. Sometimes you're not really sure where is the best position to start on the front row, depending on the way the track is playing on the day. But Peter Paddon's got the start. He's almost got a gap of 1 second at the moment. So we'll let the field settle down as we complete the first lap. And it is Paddon, a gap of almost a second below the cut for Chris Reindler. Trillo, fourth, Bernard, Claire, and Loretta, Morris, Russell, and indeed round out our top 10 after the first lap. So the sun has disappeared, so nice, cool conditions. Antonio, this makes for perfect racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, nice oxygen being fed to these engines. Right horsepower at the moment. You can see there some cars being a little bit cautious to gravel split turn two, and John knows that muscle just keep on their toes. So again, we spoke about towing qualifying in the race. It's even more crucial. That's how you're going to make a pass or potentially be passed. Nice and tight there. Still a fast corner. The TV doesn't do it justice there, so run side by side through some areas. A decent feed. Information there.
So this is now our leader, Peter Paddon, down into energy. Cooper Cutts close behind him. Looks like Cooper has now found his groove on lap number 2. Clock ticking down, 16 minutes of racing. Around turn 12 we go. 4.45 kilometre circuit that is Phillip Island. This is how we finished last year's championship, 1 and 2. They won 10 of 12 races. They were the dominant pair in 2024. Showing the Queensland Eagles again this time round. Chris Reindler here. He's in third position at the moment.
So trying to keep within that toe pressure on this point of the race. Still got 16 minutes, but can't let that car get away from it.
Big day for him. Really active on social media in the lead up to this. This is his national level circuit racing debut. State champion WA karting, prize racing. Very happy. Mechatronics and motorsport. That's a nice license car. 527. One race in WA in 24, so effectively a series rookie for him. Some of our cars and combinations. We're getting close here from
He's got a bit of pace there. Obviously, again, when you're following a car, so closely, you lose a bit of your own downforce. The advantage, of course, being you get that toe on the straight, but over the tights, as I said, you might be wide. So it seems like the speed's not going to try and make it move pretty soon.
So at this point, it is now Peter Paddon less than half a second away. When does that arrow and that toe start to come into effect? Really getting that right?
Yeah, he's definitely well through the window. Usually it's around the second mark. Once you're about a second away from the car, you're out of that. Either good zone, toe on the straight, or bad zone, a bit of disturbed air through the corners. So these two here on screen are definitely within that zone at the moment. So you have to try and manage it. If you feel comfortable that you can follow, look after your tyres a bit right to the end, that's a possibility. Otherwise, you might also be in a position where you're stronger at the end of the race. You're stronger at the start of the race, so you sort of need to move on and get stuck before he has his pace advantage.
Radicals, the tyres, you feel wild and how much of that is a jumping act in this race at this distance as opposed to say Enduro tomorrow to Phillip's race in the weekend, 50-minute race?
Well, everyone's on a bit of a different time plan throughout the weekend, and starting from now, of course, you have the Enduro later on in the weekend, so we're not too sure who's running what tyres at this point, but that'll become more evident as the races go on. So obviously you don't want to use up all your good stuff before a longer stint, so managing perhaps some used sets at the moment, a few of these guys, trying to look after them in case they're needed for this sort of
So 4 laps completed by our leader, Peter Paddon, as the gap blown over Peter cuts around half a second. Which positions on the track, which turns do you think put yourself in Cooper's position right in behind? Where's he looking? Where's he thinking?
He looks pretty strong on the brakes. Obviously, I would say at the moment, Pete's a little bit wide everywhere, perhaps in his mirrors a little bit. So, you've just got to be there when the moment presents itself, which is exactly what he's doing, not overdriving the car, just looking for the right opportunity.
That's the battle. Top 5 position at the moment. There's beautiful shots of the drone. You can see plenty of cloud covered light, much more equal. We had some broken cloud earlier and patches of sunlight. At the moment, it's relatively even coverage.
Leaders are trading sectors at the moment. Cuts Melbourne first. Almost identical to the middle. See what that gap's turned into now as they cross the line. Still around half a second, which is pretty impressive. I think it's potentially leading to an exciting final 10 minutes.
We love this storyline in terms of Paddon against cuts. The battle between east and west, as we often talk about, it's the young and the old. No offence, Peter Paddon, but it is the young and the old, the east versus the west. At the moment, it's the age, the experience of Paddon at the front. That's the number 4. That's Morris. He's got something to think about. Riding behind him at the moment. He doesn't have to think about it.
Pretty hard there. You see him nice and high on the exit of turn 2, potentially down the inside. Nice. He's pulled it up. Being given a little bit of room, but made it work.
Leaning back in the chair there, we're expecting there could have been a little contact, hard on the brakes, but he handled that one well, great job. So that's position, moves it up to big on.
Yeah, you can see the different lines there too as they go under the bridge, onto the corner, and then flat out onto the front straight here and back for a while. One of these things quite comfortably. So back to the toe.
Focus, the naming rights sponsor for the Racing Cup in Australia. Of course, inside of turn 4. Paddon though is going ultra aggressive. Cuts has a bit of a look, shows the nose. Tucks in behind. The experience of Paddon. This is defensive racing at its best.
Yeah, still a little bit of time, but Cuts was smart there, didn't force the move. So he's gathered it up. Yeah, you don't want to force the move there. They started to tighten things up. Paddon did towards Lima, so fight another lap. This might be the next. No, not quite.
Around the hay shed we go. What an awesome battle we're seeing here for our first race of 2025, the First Focus Radical Cup. We've got some traffic in front, but that was well played by Church. Warwick just moving his car out of the way, not wanting to mix up these top two. Looks like though, perhaps it may have impacted Cooper a little bit there. Unlucky with the timing.
Yeah, he's falling back a bit now. I guess back still within reach of the toe, which is good. So he's definitely got his own speed. Now just has to keep clean and give it another lap or so to create another opportunity for a pass.
We saw earlier on our very first corner, lap 1 after the start, Terry Knowles was one of the drivers caught up in that. He's worked his way back up inside the top 10. Front runners in recent times. So keep an eye on him, some progresses. Laurie must have been caught up in that as well because he was quick earlier today in qualifying and he sits down in 16th.
So you can see Paddon again now online. Eyes completely forward, trying to maintain this gap. You can see the different lines there as well through Siberia, which is what we touched on a bit in qualifying. You know, the same cars, but different drivers with different backgrounds, different setups, and you can see this come into play. You know, it's quite fast through this second here. See how much room Cooper needs on the exit of MG with that bit of speed that he's carried, and now caught himself back up to the back of Paddon.
Cooper scoring his dad's number from Speedway. His dad being up the team, Terry Cuts Racing. They absolutely love it. It's in their blood. Over there in WA. Can you have a look here? Up the inside he goes. Cooper Cuts. This is for the lead inside. Peter Paddon side by side into turn 1. The 22-year-old hasn't quite got it done. There's almost contact. I think there may have been. And Cuts goes off. The front two have tangled and Cuts comes off the corner through the gravel. Can he keep the momentum up now and rejoin this race? He had quite a gap in the top 2 ahead of Reindler. And there is Reindler arriving on the scene now. This is a disaster for Cooper Cuts. He was strong into turn 1. Was there contact? If there wasn't, there was just millimetres in it, Antonio. That was wild stuff.
Yeah, I don't think the cause of that was contact. They definitely were rubbing. I think that's what happens when you've got two people fighting for that same piece of real estate. Such a fast entry, turn 2, and there's only one line to be on. Unfortunately, Cooper wasn't on that line, so we'll have to see it again eventually, but for the moment, just trying to recover some points.
So Paddon doing everything he could just to try and remain in the hunt in this take. Here's a look at it. So definitely contact, yes, as they exited turn 1, and it continued all the way down into turn 2. And in the end, perhaps just a bit much speed for Cooper, unable to arrest that one on the side draft.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really wanted to give way there in terms of giving up the racing line or position. So unfortunately, it's what happens when you're trying to go for the lead there.
Robbins Racing, we love seeing that. The First Focus Radical Cup Australia, race number 1 at Phillip Island, putting on a show. So Chris Reindler is the beneficiary. He moves into 2nd position. Cooper now trying to regain some lost ground in terms of a few extra points. He picked up a couple for pole this morning. But we know how close last year's title fight was between Paddon and Cuts. Every point will count. Cooper, a bit of red mist perhaps now chasing down Reindler. He's got 5 minutes to do so. The gap now to Paddon in front of Reindler, 10 seconds. So Peter Paddon just needs to keep a clean set of heels and manage that gap, and he should be fine. Cuts now, all eyes. Runner-up from last year in behind Reindler.
Yeah, so if you're Avon right now, P4 watching on, you'd sort of be hoping that Cuts and Reindler start to battle a bit, gives you an opportunity to potentially jump up onto a podium position.
What a result that would be for him on debut here. Great to see Rory do that. So that's the 23 at the moment. Jim Hernandez, himself the new XXR this year, loving every moment of it.
So Cooper's very racy, obviously wanting to get this move done sooner rather than later. You can see him showing the nose everywhere he can, obviously well within range of the toe now, and we saw the good run he got previously on Paddon, exiting that penultimate corner, so I wonder if he can try and replicate that, albeit not the second part. Hopefully he can get by here and continue his charge.
How good is my eyesight going over the 28 and the 23, the numbers, when you're over 40 they can often look very similar. Cooper Cuts though, in behind in turn one, maybe once bitten, twice shy, just sitting back a little bit that time around, not perhaps quite close enough and getting enough momentum into turn one. Into turn three we now progress. Cuts all over the back of Chris Reindler. Reindler sharing this car again this year with Bryce Moore. What a great season they had last year. Rookies of the year. Shake and bake. This is approach. Chris, Lee boys, Lance East Exotics.
Chris is doing the right thing here. He's just got eyes forward. You can see he's just hitting all his marks, doing what he needs to do to try and stay in front. Very easy to get caught up in your mirrors, especially when you've got a fast driver that's just dropped behind you and just trying to charge forward. Ryan's doing everything right at the moment.
So the gap between the pair, around 3/10. Cuts, gets a little loose, a bit of attitude in the rear of that car there as he's coming down into MG. Had a bit of a look. Wasn't weird. Here's another look as well. So there's passes happening everywhere. Potential passes with just 3 minutes left. The first race of the Shannon Speed Series for 2025. The first race, first focus, Radical Cup Australia.
He's well within the toe now, getting a bit of a run. Probably not close enough for turn one. We'll see, can he set up something for turn two? Through. Not enough speed though. He stayed there. Obviously, plenty of passing opportunity in Phillip Island, so there's no need to jump in and make half a move. It's sometimes better to just wait until you know you can get it done.
So the Radical, Brad Russell, at the moment, with a bit of pressure from Chirillo. And we've just seen popping up on our timing monitors a 5-second penalty for Peter Paddon.
Yeah, I think fortunately, it seems like, well, fortunately for Paddon, he's well outside of that 5-second gap, but nothing you really want to happen during the race. Like that.
The stewards have said he was at fault, so they've made a call on it. Certainly plenty of contact, and it continued on, and Cooper was in front. He was clearly almost body length in front. The contact at the rear of his car that made the call. So 5 seconds, but as you said, the gap is out at 11, so Peter has enough up his sleeve to continue to hunt down his first victory of the season in this opening race. But now the question, Cooper Cuts. He's trying everything. He's had a few laps now, Antonio, to try and seize up perhaps where the weaknesses may be. Tucks in the slipstream down the Gardner Straight. Having a look at turn one this time round. And he has a dip, and he's got it done. Cooper Cuts is through and into second place. He makes that one stick. And that's a nice, clean move this time round.
Yeah, that was a mega move. Awesome racing by both guys to leave a bit of racing room. Obviously, Cuts in a mega position up on the podium at the moment. You don't need to risk anything so early on in the weekend and in the season. So holding on to P3 at the moment is Reindler.
So not enough time, you wouldn't think. Cooper Cuts is quick, but so is Peter Paddon, and the gap still sits at just over 10 seconds, and we're getting close to the end of this one. So Cuts will charge on and do everything he can in case perhaps Pete puts a foot wrong, has a slide or a moment. That would be the only real opportunity for Cooper to try and get in front. Antonio, another look at the path from Cooper Cuts.
Yeah, so he's right in that diffuser of the car in front there, using all of that slipstream. He's going to get a bit of racing room. he's made the move, obviously. He had so much speed there. It was bound to happen, whether he went inside or out, I presume. But very clean racing by both guys to leave enough racing room for that to happen. Paddon well out in front now, maintaining that lead. The last thing you need now is to put foot wrong when you're quite comfortably out of the way of your penalty. So just be head down, eyes forward, cruising it home.
You wouldn't even need to tell Peter that there's a penalty sitting there, would you? You wouldn't want to put that sort of thought into his head that if he does make a mistake, he's in trouble. So you would imagine he's just blazing on out in front. This is now the last lap of this race. Peter Paddon out in front at the moment. Cuts chasing him down after that big move on Chris Reindler. Avern in fourth, Russell in fifth, Chirillo sixth, Nakarata seventh, Knowles, Morris, Clare. Great recovery drive from Knowles to be sitting in eighth position at the moment. Reindler still not giving up on trying to hunt down that second place and return himself into that position, but Cooper, with the speed and experience you would think at just 22 years of age, to find his way onto the podium once again.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have liked to have been right here amongst it with Pete, battling for first, but still got all weekend for that.
So plenty of drama. It was an action-packed opening race for the First Focus Radical Cup Australia. Race 1, Shannon Speed Series at Phillip Island. They came side by side. Contact was made. A penalty was issued to Peter Paddon, but he's still too good and he takes the win. Peter Paddon, victory number 1 for 2025. Cooper cuts, crosses the line in second position. Another podium continuing his streak. In third place, a great drive from Chris Reindler, wrapping up our podium. The checkered flag has been waved in fourth. It's Rory Avern. Chirillo, Nakarata, Knowles, Morris and Clare rounding out the top 10. Congratulations to Peter Paddon. There may be some heats and feelings, some discussions perhaps to be had, Antonio, after that one.
Oh, it's an emotional sport, but that's why we've got our adjudicators upstairs to go through all that, and I'm sure it'll be dealt with appropriately.
So in hindsight, perhaps a good result for Pete that there wasn't any damage to the tyre in that contact between the two, or for both of them to manage to continue their races. Here's a late off. This is a real drama for Nick Laurie. Now, he was caught up, we believe, in that turn 1 incident on lap 1. So that's been a dirty old day for him after what had been some really impressive pace earlier in the day in that car.
Can't quite tell where that is on circuit. Obviously not really want to be at this point in the race, but fortunate for him.
So they return to the paddock. Peter Paddon leading them in, Cooper Cuts and Chris Reindler. And there we have it. So that's the position, Antonio. So who knows what is happening to go off there. That's unusual.
Yeah, need to make go for that to happen, unless something has to happen, unfortunately.
All right, Peter Paddon, the race winner to open the season. First Focus Radical Cup Australia. He takes the victory by almost 11 seconds after contact with Cooper Cuts, who sticks on through to remain second. Chris Reindler finishing up the podium from Avern, Russell, Chirillo, Nakarata, Knowles, Morris, and rounding out the top 10 is Stephen Champion here at Phillip Island Shannon's Speed Series. Plenty more action to come for you from this beautiful part of the world and this beautiful racetrack. Up next, there'll be a fleet